Far away from Earth, in a galaxy filled with bright stars and strange worlds, there was a great planet called Zareen. It was home to a powerful alien kingdom ruled by King Val, a strong and wise leader. The people of Zareen were tall and graceful, with blue skin and shining silver eyes. They lived in tall towers made of crystal and metal, and their cities sparkled under the twin suns. King Val's daughter, Princess Lyra, was known throughout the galaxy. She was brave, kind, and very smart. She cared deeply about her people and the future of their kingdom. But the most important thing about Lyra was her heart. She believed in peace and friendship between all the stars, even between very different species. One day, a new group of visitors arrived on Zareen. They were humans from Earth. Humans were new to the galaxy, but they were curious and strong. They wanted to make friends and learn from others. Earth had sent a small team to meet with the aliens and start a new alliance. Among the humans was a soldier named James. James was not a noble or a prince. He was a simple man, trained to protect and fight for his people. He had short brown hair and clear green eyes. His uniform was plain but clean. James did not have special powers like the Zarini, but he had something rare: courage and a strong will. The day James and his team landed on Zareen, there was a grand ceremony in the king's palace. The halls were filled with light, and music played softly in the background. The people of Zareen came to see the new visitors. They were curious, but careful. Princess Lyra stood near her father, watching the humans. When she saw James, something inside her stirred. He stood tall and calm, even though he was far from home. Lyra noticed his quiet strength. King Vale welcomed the human visitors with respect. He spoke of friendship and new beginnings. The other alien nobles looked at James with surprise. A human soldier was not like them. They whispered among themselves, wondering if he was worthy to be in their presence. The ceremony ended with a feast. Humans and aliens sat together, sharing food and stories. James listened carefully, trying to understand the alien ways. He knew he was a stranger in this world, but he wanted to be a good guest. After the feast, the king held a private meeting. He invited James and the human leaders to discuss the alliance. James spoke with honesty and respect. He told them about Earth's desire for peace and cooperation. The aliens were impressed by his words. Princess Lyra watched James closely during the meeting. She saw how he listened and spoke with care. She admired his courage to speak honestly in a strange place. In her heart, she felt a connection to him, something she had never felt before. But not everyone was happy. Some alien nobles did not trust the humans. They thought humans were weak and unworthy. They whispered that the princess should never choose a human as a companion or friend. Lyra knew the path ahead would be hard. She also knew she had to follow her heart. The future of her kingdom might depend on it. That night, Lyra walked alone in the palace gardens. The twin moons shone above, casting a soft light on the flowers and trees. She thought about the humans, about James, and about the new world coming to Zareen. She knew the story of her life was changing. The alien kingdom was about to meet a new kind of power, not in strength or magic, but in courage and friendship. And so the journey of the princess and the human soldier began. After the grand ceremony, life on Zareen slowly began to change. The arrival of humans brought new hope, but also new challenges. Many of the alien nobles still whispered behind closed doors. They could not believe that a human soldier had gained the attention of Princess Lyra. To them, humans were weak and strange creatures from a small blue planet far away. In the shining halls of the palace, the nobles gathered. They talked about the future of the princess and the kingdom. Some wanted her to marry one of their own, a strong alien warrior with great power and noble blood. They thought a human had no place in their royal world. Among these nobles was Lord Krath, a tall, stern man with dark blue skin and piercing eyes. He was one of the strongest warriors of Zareen and had hoped to be chosen by the princess. He saw James, the human soldier, as a rival and a threat. But Princess Lyra did not listen to the whispers. She spent more time learning about the humans, especially James. She was curious about his courage and kindness. She wanted to understand the strength that did not come from power, but from the heart. One afternoon, Lyra watched a training session in the palace arena. Alien warriors practiced their fighting skills with weapons of light and energy. They moved with speed and grace. Then James stepped forward to join the practice. The nobles laughed quietly. How could a human soldier keep up with their skilled warriors? They expected him to fail. But James was ready. He had trained for years on Earth. He had fought in difficult battles. He was not as fast or tall as the aliens, but he was smart and brave. He moved carefully, using strategy and quick thinking. At first, the alien warriors tried to test him with fast attacks. James blocked and dodged with surprising skill. Slowly, the crowd grew silent, watching in awe. James held his own against the best fighters in Zareen. Princess Lyra smiled. She saw that James had something special, not just strength, but spirit. He was not just fighting for himself. He was fighting for his people, for friendship, for something greater. After the day training, some nobles approached James with cold faces. They asked why he dared to compete with them. James answered calmly, "I am here to learn and to protect. I respect your skills, and I hope to show that humans can stand beside you." Lyra spoke next. She said, "It is not just about strength. It is about heart, loyalty, and courage. We must look beyond our fears and see the true value in each other." Her words surprised the nobles. Some nodded quietly, but others scowled. Lord Krath stepped forward and said, "Princess, you are kind, but our traditions are old. Our future is tied to strength and bloodline. How can a human soldier with no noble blood be worthy of you?" Lyra looked at him firmly. Strength is not only blood or power. It is in every brave act, in every choice to stand for what is right. I will choose who I believe can help our kingdom and build a better future. The nobles fell silent. They knew the princess was serious. This was the start of change, a change not everyone was ready to accept. In the following days, Lyra invited James to walk with her in the palace gardens. They talked about their worlds, their hopes and fears. James told her about Earth, a planet filled with many kinds of people, some strong and some weak, but all with dreams of peace. Lyra shared stories of Zareen, the ancient kings and queens, the long wars, and the hope for a peaceful future. She told him how hard it was to lead a kingdom, and how lonely it could feel. Their friendship grew quietly, but deeply. They learned from each other and found comfort in their differences. Lyra admired James's courage and kindness. James respected Lyra's wisdom and strength. But the palace was not always a safe place. One night, a secret meeting of nobles took place in the dark halls. Lord Krath and others spoke in low voices, plotting to stop the princess's friendship with the human soldier. "We cannot let this human change our future," Krath said. "If the princess chooses him, our kingdom will fall into chaos." The nobles agreed to watch closely and to challenge James whenever they could. They would not accept a human as part of their royal family. Unaware of the plot, Lyra and James prepared for the next big event, the Festival of Stars. It was a celebration of light and hope, where the princess traditionally announced her future companion. James felt nervous but ready. He knew the eyes of the kingdom would be on him, but he also knew he was not alone. Lyra stood by him, strong and proud. As the festival approached, the people of Zareen began to wonder, could a human soldier win the heart of an alien princess? Could two very different worlds come together as one? The answer was yet to be seen. But one thing was clear. The story of Princess Lyra and James had just begun. The Festival of Stars was the most important event on Zareen. It was a time when the kingdom celebrated light, hope, and new beginnings. The great city glittered under the twin suns and bright stars above. The streets were full of music, laughter, and colorful lights. Every citizen wanted to see the princess's choice for her future companion. Princess Lyra prepared carefully for the festival. She knew the eyes of the kingdom were on her. She also knew many did not agree with her growing friendship with James, the human soldier, but she was determined to be true to herself and her heart. The palace arena, a vast, open space surrounded by crystal towers, was set for the final test. King Vale announced that to find the best protector for his daughter, a challenge would take place. The contestants would prove their courage and skill before the people. Many alien warriors stepped forward. They were strong, proud, and confident. Among them was Lord Krath, who wanted to show that he was the right choice for the princess. James also volunteered to take part. His heart pounded, but his voice was steady. "I will fight not only for myself, but for peace between our worlds." The crowd gasped. Some doubted a human could face their greatest warriors, but Lyra smiled quietly. She believed in James. The first round was a test of strength. Warriors faced large mechanical beasts that roared and charged. James watched carefully. When it was his turn, he moved quickly and wisely. Instead of fighting the beast head-on, he used his environment. He dodged, climbed, and used simple tools to trap the machine. The crowd watched, amazed. Next came a test of speed. The warriors raced through a maze filled with traps and dangers. James ran with all his might. He used his sharp eyes and quick thinking to avoid traps. Though not the fastest, he reached the center, proving his skill. Then came the test of courage, the hardest of all. The warriors entered a dark cave known as the Shadow Hollow. Inside, it was said, strange creatures and fears lived. The challenge was to bring back a glowing crystal from the deepest part. James stood at the cave's entrance. His heart beat fast, but he stepped inside with steady feet. The darkness surrounded him like a heavy blanket. Strange sounds echoed in the shadows. He remembered the stories his mother told him on Earth, that courage was not the absence of fear, but moving forward despite it. With this thought, James moved deeper. He faced illusions of his fears. Being alone, failing his friends, losing hope. Each time he pushed forward, telling himself to be brave. Finally, James found the glowing crystal. It shone with bright light, warm and pure. He held it high and returned to the arena. The crowd erupted in cheers. James had shown true courage. When the final results were announced, many were surprised. James was among the top warriors. The king looked at him with respect. The nobles, though still doubtful, could no longer ignore his strength. Princess Lyra stepped forward and spoke clearly. "Today, we have seen what courage means. It is not just strength or power. It is heart, will, and the choice to stand for peace." Lord Krath bowed his head, realizing the change coming to the kingdom. He said quietly to the princess, "You have chosen a difficult path, but I see the strength in your choice." James smiled humbly. "I do not fight for power or glory. I fight for friendship and a better future." The festival ended with joy and hope. The people of Zareen began to accept that a human soldier could stand among them as a protector and friend. That night, under the twin moons, Princess Lyra and James walked together in the quiet gardens. The stars shone bright above, and a new chapter of their story was unfolding. But far away in the shadowed halls of the palace, some nobles still planned to test James and the princess. They would challenge the future of the kingdom. Yet for now, the light of courage had begun to shine. The day of the grand ceremony had arrived. The Festival of Stars was at its peak, and the people of Zareen gathered in the magnificent Crystal Plaza. The plaza was filled with shimmering light from the twin suns and decorated with bright banners. Every eye was on Princess Lyra. The nobles, warriors, and citizens waited eagerly to hear the princess's decision. Many whispered among themselves, guessing who she would choose. Some expected her to pick one of the powerful alien lords. Others were curious about the human soldier, James. Princess Lyra stood tall on the elevated platform, her silver eyes shining with determination. She wore a dress woven from the softest starlight fabric, and a crown of blue crystals rested gently on her head. Next to her stood King Val, proud but silent. James, dressed in his simple uniform, stood quietly among the crowd. He felt the weight of 1,000 gazes, but he held his head high. He had trained, fought, and earned respect. Now it was time. The music stopped. A deep silence fell over the plaza. Princess Lyra raised her hand and spoke clearly, her voice ringing through the open space. People of Zareen, nobles, warriors, friends, today I choose my companion not by blood, not by power, but by heart. She paused, looking at James with warmth. I choose James, the human soldier, as my companion. A gasp spread through the crowd like wildfire. Some faces showed shock, others disbelief. The nobles whispered loudly, some with anger, some with surprise. Lord Crath's eyes darkened, but he said nothing. Princess Lyra raised her hand again, calling for silence. I know many of you have doubts. You see James as different, as a stranger. But I have seen his courage, his honor, and his loyalty. He has stood beside me in trials and dangers. Together, we will build a future where all species can stand as equals. The plaza filled with a mixture of cheers and murmurs. Some shouted in support, others grumbled their discontent. King Val finally spoke, his voice strong and clear. My daughter has made her choice. James, you have my respect and the respect of the kingdom. Prove that your courage is true, and you will have a place here among us. James bowed deeply, grateful and proud. The ceremony continued with music and dance, but beneath the celebration, tensions still simmered. Some nobles quietly met in hidden rooms, planning to challenge the decision. Princess Lyra and James were aware of the challenges ahead, but their bond had grown strong. Later, in the quiet of the palace, Lyra said, I know this will not be easy, but I believe in us. James nodded. I will stand with you, no matter what comes. Their partnership became a symbol of hope. The people of Zareen began to dream of a kingdom united by courage and friendship. And so, before the eyes of all, the princess and the human soldier began their journey together, facing the future with hearts strong and true. The days after the grand ceremony were filled with both hope and tension. Princess Lyra and James walked the palace halls together, their companionship now clear to all. Many citizens cheered their union, but some nobles still looked at James with doubt and suspicion. It was not easy for a human soldier to earn a place among an alien royal court, but James was determined to prove himself worthy. King Vale, wise and watchful, set new tasks for the princess and her chosen companion. These tasks would test their bond and their ability to work together for the good of the kingdom. The challenges were not only about strength, but also about wisdom, loyalty, and leadership. The first task was to solve a dispute between two important alien clans. The clans, once allies, had fallen into disagreement over land borders. The conflict threatened to grow into a war that could weaken the entire kingdom. Lyra and James traveled to meet the clan leaders. The leaders were proud and stubborn, refusing to listen to outsiders. James spoke honestly about Earth's history, where many people had faced similar conflicts. He explained how listening and understanding had helped them find peace. Princess Lyra added, "War will only bring loss. We must find a way to share and work together." Their words slowly opened the leaders' hearts. After days of talks, the clans agreed to a new treaty. The kingdom breathed easier, seeing that the princess and the human soldier could bring peace through wisdom and care. The second task was a mission to protect the kingdom's borders from a dangerous group of space pirates. These pirates attacked ships carrying food and medicine. The attacks threatened the health and safety of many innocent people. James led a small team of warriors, humans, and aliens working side by side. His experience as a soldier showed in every decision. He planned carefully, set traps, and trained his team well. During a surprise attack, James showed his bravery. He stood between the pirates and his team, fighting fiercely despite being outnumbered. His courage inspired the others, who fought harder and won the battle. The princess watched from the command center, proud and confident. Together, they protected the kingdom and its people. The third task was the hardest, a test of trust and unity. The king asked Lyra and James to host a great feast, inviting leaders from many different alien worlds. It was a chance to build new friendships and alliances, but also a chance for old enemies to cause trouble. Lyra and James worked side by side, preparing the feast. James learned the customs of the alien worlds, and Lyra shared stories of Earth's cultures. They showed their guests respect and kindness. During the feast, a group of enemies tried to start a fight, but James stood calmly and spoke with honesty and respect. He reminded everyone that peace was the greatest strength. The enemies were surprised by his words and the unity around the table. The feast ended with new promises of friendship and cooperation. Throughout these challenges, Lyra and James grew closer. They learned from each other, understanding the value of trust and partnership. The people of Zareen began to see that their bond was more than a royal choice. It was a true partnership that could bring hope to the galaxy. Even Lord Krath, once a fierce rival, began to respect James. He admitted quietly, the human soldier is strong not only in battle, but in heart. But challenges still lay ahead. The galaxy was wide and full of unknown dangers. Princess Lyra and James knew their journey was only beginning. Under the starry skies of Zareen, they stood together, ready to face the future with courage, friendship, and love. The days after the great feast were filled with hope and hard work. Princess Lyra and James, now companions by choice and bond, walked side by side through the halls of the palace and the streets of Zareen. The kingdom watched them with growing respect. Many had begun to believe that this union of alien and human was more than just a choice. It was the start of something new. King Val, the wise ruler, watched carefully. He had seen the strength and loyalty in James and the happiness in his daughter's eyes. One evening, he called James to his private chamber. "James," the king said, his voice calm but serious, "you have shown courage, wisdom, and honor. You have proven that you are worthy of my daughter and this kingdom. I give you my blessing." James bowed deeply. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I will serve with all my heart." The king smiled. "Good. The galaxy is changing. Together we must be strong." News of the king's blessing spread quickly. Many in the kingdom celebrated. The bond between human and alien was now official and respected. The palace began to change too. New ideas, new friends, and new dreams filled the air. But peace was not guaranteed. Far beyond the stars, new dangers waited. Some old enemies watched with anger, jealous of the new strength in Zareen. But Lyra and James were ready. Together, they traveled to distant planets, meeting leaders and forging alliances. They spoke of unity, respect, and courage. The stories of their partnership inspired many to hope for a better future. On one mission, a planet faced a terrible drought. Crops were failing and people were starving. Lyra and James worked with scientists and farmers to bring new water systems and technology. James shared Earth's knowledge, and Lyra brought the kingdom's resources. Slowly, the planet began to heal. On another mission, they stopped a conflict between two rival planets. Their calm words and strong presence helped leaders find peace. With every step, Lyra and James showed the galaxy that strength came from working together, no matter the differences. Back on Zareen, the people celebrated their new era. The streets were filled with joy, music, and friendship between different species. Humans and aliens trained together, studied together, and shared their stories. Lord Krath, once a rival, now stood beside James as a friend and ally. He said with a smile, "You have changed us all, James. You showed us what it means to be brave and true." James smiled back. "We all have strength inside. Sometimes it takes a new friend to help us see it." Princess Lyra and James stood on the balcony of the palace, looking out at the stars. The twin suns were setting, painting the sky with colors of hope. "We have come far," Lyra said softly. "Yes," James replied. "And together, we will go even farther." Their story was no longer just about a princess and a soldier. It was about the future of many worlds, a future built on courage, friendship, and unity. The galaxy was wide and full of challenges, but with hearts strong and spirits united, Princess Lyra and James were ready to face whatever came next. And so a new era began, one where humanity stood proudly among the stars, not as strangers but as friends and heroes.